Hey guys, how's it going? Miso here, back with another Epic 7 video, and today we are going to be going over the one, the only Seaside Bellona, the OP queen herself, the pretty much one of the most busted units in the game, and has been since she's come out. They have tried to put in counters for her, they have like Rowana, but even then, she is still the queen of overpoweredness. Right now, up there next to A. Vildred, who they have also put many counters into the game, but still remains one of the most OP units in the game. So let's talk a little bit about Seaside Bellona and how to build her. So first of all, what's going to happen is the banner is going to drop, and you're going to be able to pull her and also her artifact, Rengar Special Drink. And now, I don't have a max drink, and actually, I should put this to plus 9 artifact skill. I haven't done that yet for some reason, but you should be doing that. You should max it out. If you have the opportunity to pull all the imprints for this artifact, you should, and max it out, because this artifact is absolutely busted, and especially on SSB. So, let's talk about her kit overall. I'm sure most of you know how she works though, but just for the sake of it, let's go over it. I don't have her plus 15 because I am dumb, I guess. I don't know. I'm stingy with my molas, and personally, I don't think SSB is a super interesting character, but she is OP, so that's why I haven't max molled her. Pretty close though, just her S1 is not maxed out. So S3, of course, big AoE attack, hits hard, applies unhealable and unbuffable. And this is actually a pretty powerful combination, because if you look at units like DN, right? Especially in RTA, she's really popular. She can't use her S3 to buff the units, but also her S2 won't be will only get rid of one of those buffs, right? And she probably won't be getting rid of, well, it depends on which buff lands first, right? And then she'll be able to get rid of one of them, but not both of them. And with Amo, her S3 cleanses, but it heals before it cleanses, and it applies the immunity before it cleanses. So because your unit is both unable to buff and unable to be healed, this does nothing but cleanse the debuffs. And with her S2, this does nothing. This pretty much does nothing but remove one debuff, because most likely you're not going to be healing because you have the unhealable. So that is a really powerful combination, which is why I have built her the way that I currently have her built, which is basically all speed, or not all speed, but a lot of speed, a lot of attack, and a lot of crit damage, but no crit chance. And with pretty good effectiveness as well, 86%. So her skill 2, it basically is what kind of makes her extremely powerful. Every time a unit gets hit, you get a focus, and when her focus goes to 5, then she counterattacks basically. She attacks the entire team for AoE that has a 50% chance to Death Break, which is nuts, and also does a ton of damage as well. And on top of doing a ton of damage and Death Breaking, what her S2 also does is it'll share 30% of the damage that she takes with the person at the front of your formation, and basically it just makes her into, a better bruiser, right? You don't even need to build her that tanky, and she will take a lot of damage. She'll be able to take a lot of damage from your enemies. And that's only if you have somebody at the front, right? If you don't have somebody at the front, then it doesn't work. Or if you have her at the front, it doesn't work. So what I mean by the front is there's normally 4 units in a formation. There's one all the way on the right-hand side, usually if you're on the left-hand side, and that's the front unit. And her S3 gives her 3 focus, which is even more nuts, because when you S3, it means that you're 2 off of getting your S2 off. So a lot of times what will happen is if you're going up against an enemy SSB, right, you'll S3, you get 3 focus, she will probably, you know, counter you. She probably either, if she's gone already, she'll probably counter you, and then you will counter back. And that's multiple procs of this Rengar's Drink, which I guess I never really went over what the Rengar's Drink does. But the Rengar's Drink, what it does is it takes 30% of your attack and plops it on right after your damage from your attacking skill, and it ignores all defense, which is crazy, especially because she attacks so often due to her S2. So her kit overall is nuts. Her S1 is also really good. It gives a chance to target, which will increase the damage by, I think, like 15. Yeah, there you go, 15%. So that is also really good. SSB's kit is absolutely nutty. Now, we've gone over Rengar's Drink. You should absolutely pull this and the unit. There's pretty much, like, I'd say almost no other artifact that's better than Rengar's Drink for her. So if you're going to pull for SSB, 100% you should pull for the drink. If you can't pull for the drink, then unfortunately that sucks, but you should pull the drink. Her imprints are HP and effectiveness. So of course HP, you know, it's useful for you to have your allies, but I'd say the more important one is probably the self imprint, which is effectiveness, because you do need effectiveness to land her debuffs, right? Land her defense break, land her unbuffable and unhealable, and her target. So let's go into her stats and how you build her. As I mentioned earlier, I have her built speed and effectiveness with damage, with attack and crit damage, right? So the reason why I have her built this way is because of the way my team comp is built. So what I do with SSB is I use her for defense for both Guild War and for Arena, and I have regular Tenebria going in right before her. So what'll normally happen is Cerise I have going first. She's gonna strip, then Tenny's gonna come in and put everybody to sleep and death break them. And when units are asleep, you 100% crit them if you hit them. So that's why I don't have any crit chance on my SSB. So SSB comes in and S3s and debuffs them all and does a ton of damage. So that's why I have her built this way. Normally, if you don't have, like, you know, if you don't want to go for a comp like that, what you're going to want to do is for however you want to build her, you're going to want as much attack as possible because of her Rengar special drink. You actually probably want to prioritize her attack over her crit damage because of this. So while you do want a good bit of crit damage, I'd say that the priority is going to be an attack. You're going to want her to make her, you know, depending on how you build her. Let's actually just go over kind of the different archetypes, right? So let's just go with the typical SSB build. Just, you know, damage, right? You're going to want to give her as much attack as you want, or as much attack as you can. Make her somewhat survivable. I'd say mine is definitely on the squishy side. I'd look for an SSB probably, if you're making an attack, probably at least like 12k HP, at least. If you can go higher, awesome. If you can't, then just try to get to around 12. As much attack as possible, probably 4k, 4.5k, or yeah, 4 to 4.5k. You know, if you can do even higher, that's great, but I'd say on average most people are probably gonna hit 4 to 4.5k ish. Speed, you can build her speed, it doesn't really matter too much. You can, you know, make her faster to get more turns, but you know, the one thing about SSB is that because of her S2 passive, she actually does a lot of damage without taking a turn. So you don't actually need to build her speed. A lot of people will build her with no speed at all and just tons of attack, tons of crit damage, right? And of course you want your crit damage close to 100%. For me, yet again, I don't have it that way because of the way I built my team. I use her more of as a debuffer and slash damage dealer rather than a pure damage dealer. And then you're going to want as much effectiveness as you want, right? Or as much effectiveness as you can. So that is the attack SSB, probably around 4.5k-ish attack. I'd say, you know, defense, 1k defense, 12k HP, speed doesn't really matter. And then you're going to want near 100% crit chance and 200, you know, 50-ish% crit damage. So let's go into my equipment and see if I can build her that way. So before I forget, the reason why you want to build her attack is because, well, she does a lot of damage, right? Her S2 basically makes it so that your enemies have a lot of pressure to either kill her quickly, which is hard because of her S2, or to out-sustain her, which is also hard because her S2 procs so often and does so much damage because you are built with such high damage that it's just really hard to out-sustain. For example, a unit like Ruel of Light, who normally is kind of, really, really great at healing and keeping units alive because she can revive, it's really tough for her to do much against SSB because there's so much sustained damage and she's not great at dealing with that. She'll probably die at some point, and either that or her units will die. So that's why you build her attack, just so you put a lot of pressure using your high damage from your, S2. So let's see. So I am gonna go look for probably my BBK's gear is probably good for her. So let's go there. Let's go attack. Let's go crit chance on the chest. And then we're gonna go attack again for the necklace. And then we're gonna go attack for the ring. And then attack for the boots. So yeah. So probably a bit more crit chance here, I'd say, could be beneficial. But the crit damage and I'd say the attack is probably good. You'd probably want a little bit more attack. If you need to make up for that with crit damage, you can probably make it a little bit lower. Probably like, like I said, 4.5k attack, minimum 250 crit damage, 300% is really good. And then effectiveness, mine is definitely on the lower end. You're probably going to want at least like, 60, 70-ish. And if you have the self-imprint with either regular Bellona or, her self-imprint, Seaside Bellona, then that's amazing because you get to get more effectiveness without having to give up those stats. Now, let's say I want to go for like, the other build I'm going to go over is kind of like the tanky build. So some people choose to just make her super tanky and make her, I'd say some people make the mistake of just going for tank and not giving her any damage. And I think that's not good. And the reasoning for that is because even though Drink does a lot of damage and her S2 does a lot of damage, you need to give her attack. You need to give her damage. She's a damage dealer. She can't just sit there and do no damage and just take hits, right? Now, while I'm going over the tankier build, I'd say, in my opinion, the tanky build is not something that I'd recommend. I think that SSB does need to do damage, as I mentioned earlier, and the tankier build makes her do less damage. Yes, she does survive longer, and by that kind of logic, she's going to proc S2 a lot more, but because she does less damage with her S2, it kind of takes away that pressure that I was talking about from her attack build, so it's a lot easier to deal with her that way. You might be able to hit them with some sort of surprise factor. Let's say they want to try to cleave you, right? And you they miss it because you're tankier. You can still come back from that, but from that point on, it's a lot easier to survive against her compared to the attack build. And that's really kind of the only reason why I'd say, you kind of would want to go for the tankier build, is because you want to hit them with that surprise factor, right? You're like, you don't expect that the SSB is going to be that tanky, so you bring in units that, may be a little squishier. You may try to, like I said, cleave her and try to one-shot her, but she doesn't die. And then she S3s, and then, she also procs her S2 and Drink procs, and, you get lower. But that's really the only reason why you'd build a tankier SSB. Other than that, I don't really see too much of a point. So this is a build that I would not recommend, but I just want to show it to you for the sake of going over the different builds that are, that people build her in with. So for a tankier build, let's see what I can do. Maybe my Serato's gear would be beneficial for her. So like that there. Let's see what else. Where else is my health set? There we go. And then the rest is going to be attack set. So there, there, and there. So this is a tankier build. I'd say you want to give her a little bit more attack, around 4k attack for a tankier build. And she's kind of like bruisery this way. Yet again, you're going to want more crit chance as well. But this is kind of like a good way to build her. So around 4k attack, 16k HP is, I'd say, average. You can give her a little bit more if you want. Crit chance closer to 100, probably like 80 something, 90%. And then crit damage, I'd say, you know, of course, as much as you can. But you know, with normal-ish gear, like not like super endgame gear, I think 250%. All right, now let's go over, you know, my current build, right? Speed. Now let's go over the reason why you'd want to build her speed, right? I'd say this is probably the second most popular build behind the attack build, and the reason why this build works, but probably, you know, in most cases not as well. But the reason why this build works is because SSB has some really, really powerful debuffs on her S3, right? It makes it so you can't buff and you can't heal. So a lot of times teams will want to open up with some sort of buff, right? Either it's like FCC's S3, or, you know, maybe it's C Armin's S3, or something like, you know, an attack buff or a revive buff for Maid Chloe, right? And a lot of times people don't expect you to have a fast SSB, so you go in and S3 them, and basically their plan of sustaining with, you know, FCC or sustaining and reviving with Maid Chloe is completely out the window because, you know, they can't do that anymore. So that's the reason why you'd build a speed SSB, to hit them with that surprise factor and make it so that their units can't do what they want to do, applying those buffs. And it sounds a lot similar to the defensive comp, and yeah, it really is. And that's why I don't think it's as good as the attack option. But for me, the reason why I built her this way is because I like Cerise and I want to use her in a defense comp, and I like Tenebria and I want to use her in defense comp, and I just got creative and thought that this was the way that, you know, would make sense for her in that comp. And she kind of fills that role that I wanted, you know, no other unit could fill in this role. So that's why I built her this way. I wouldn't super recommend this way, but it definitely is not the second most popular way to build her, and it can work depending on the comp. It's not like the attack build, which you can just plug in anywhere. Just, you know, if you have the build, if you want to try this out, do it, but I would recommend the attack build over this one. So because of her S3 passive, I think that she is a very powerful debuffer, so a lot of people will choose to just go speed on her. So building her fast, building her with high effectiveness. Because of the way I have it built, I don't have to have crit chance, but, you know, if you have better gear, build her with crit chance, and as much attack as you can. I'd say my stats are about average for an SSB for this, probably maybe even below average, but you know, you can only do so much, right? So that's kind of the ways that I'd say SSBs are typically built. There's three types. One being the typical damage dealer, attack as much as you can, around 4 to 4.5k, crit chance as close to 100 as you can. Health is going to be, you know, somewhat tanky, like, you know, 1k defense, 12k HP. Crit damage, you're going to want, you know, around 250 to 300%. I'd say closer to 300% is, you know, better, but some people might not be able to do that. So minimum 250, ideally higher. And of course, this is assuming you have Rengar's Drink. So focus on making your attack higher for that. And then the other one is going to be the speed one, which is what I have right here. And then the bruise, like the tankier one, bruisery types, which you can have more health on, which you're going to want like 16 to 18k health, probably like 1 to 1.2k defense, still around 4k attack, still close to 100% crit chance, still around like 250% crit damage, and also as much as effectiveness as you can. I'd say effectiveness is probably the least priority stat for most of these, but you do want to have it, at least, you know, some of it, to land your debuffs, because her debuffs are very powerful. And then let's talk about, I guess, you know, the other thing is with her tankier build, some people choose to use Bloodstone. I don't really think that build is great. I don't like it that much, but some people use it. Yeah. Let's talk about kind of the content that she can be used in, right? Everything. She's good in PvP. She's good in PvE. PvP, she's nuts. PvE, she's an amazing Wyvern unit. I have her on my Wyvern team. I use her for raid. I use her for, you know, general, just like she's a decent farmer too, because she does have an AoE on her S3 and then her S2 AoEs as well. I'd say she's not the best farmer, but she'll suffice. Yeah, just use her in everything. She's really, really good. So you guys 100% should pull on her. I don't see her, unless the Smilegate decides, you know, we're setting our foot down, we're absolutely gutting her and actually nerfing her. I don't really see them like having anything that could really, really counter her. I don't see them coming out with a unit like that. So yeah, hopefully that's a little helpful. I know there's, you know, plenty of SSB guides out there, but I just wanted to make a quick video that now that the game's been out for, you know, or SSB's been out for a year, right? You know, we've gotten a lot more understanding of her. A lot of the videos are probably earlier on how to build her. But yeah. Oh yeah, also, if you want her to be a Wyvern unit, get your effectiveness to at least 65%. And maybe, if you want, you can use Joker. But I don't like swapping her gear around. I don't like it swapping the artifact around. And that's why I do that. So, there we go. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully you guys can pull her quickly. Hopefully you guys, actually the most important part, pull her artifact, because you can always pity her, but you can't pity the artifact. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions, any thoughts about, you know, SSB, any ideas for new videos that you want to see. And, you know, as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Tell me why. And if you enjoy my content in general and want to see more, consider subscribing. I'd love to see you here again. All right, guys. Until next time. Peace.